Pete, let's start with you, dude. Who are you going to build around at center?
Well, there are obviously the two Edmonton guys that I would try to work into your lineup any chance you can get, but I wanted to mention Matthew Barzell, who's heating up right now for the New York Islanders. He has a 4-game point streak. The Islanders quietly have a 4-game point streak. I know they just got their first win in 12 games last time out, but keep an eye on Nashville's goalie situation. If Saros is not there, I like to hammer the Islanders and the Matthew Barzell play in DFS for $5,800. He has a great career points per game average, 0.86. That's high-end talent, and he's one of the best zone entry players in the league. So I do think over time, maybe starting tonight, could be the first win at the new barn for the Islanders, and they could be off and running from there. So I would get Matthew Barzell into your lineup against Nashville here.
Okay, Paul, do you agree you got to try to work that Edmonton duo in there of Draisaitl and McDavid? Both guys would cost you north of $9,000.
No, I'm fading them. The team's not playing very well lately. Instead, I'm looking at a couple of mid-range guys who are their team's respective number one centers. They're both playing very well heading into tonight's action, and they have great matchups. First, I'll begin with Ryan Hartman of the Wild for $6,600. He's putting together a career-best season with 21 points in 25 games played. He's on a point-per-game pace with 38 shots on goal over his last 10 outings and has a nice matchup in San Jose tonight. Then there's Trevor Zegras, who used one of my old moves from a few years ago to set the Twitter sphere on its edge in his last game. I'm more impressed by the consistency he's shown this season with 22 points in 25 games and is carving out an early reputation as a premier setup guy, just like his captain, Ryan Getzlaf. And he has 12 points, all assists, and 32 shots on goal over his last 10 starts. And he gets a good matchup against Columbus tonight, priced at only $6,100.
Okay, AJ, what's your strategy here at center?
Well, unfortunately, my strategy is to agree with Paul and to fade the top of the group here. Toronto's playing Tampa Bay. You've got Edmonton and Boston. Like, you have all these top centers going against each other. So I'm a little leery. And I also landed on Ryan Hartman at $6,600 for Minnesota. The team has 12 goals in their last 3 games. He has just one of those. 2 games without a point is his longest slump of the season. He's never gone this long, and I use air quotes on that, this long with a slump here. So I do think Ryan Hartman's the play. I think Dylan Larkin is another guy to consider here. Look, St. Louis is once again going to be fielding only 17 skaters tonight. They're going to be using Charlie Lindgren, who really is probably their 4th choice keeper, but because of the cap situation, they actually can't bring up the 3rd choice guy. It's a disaster there in St. Louis tonight. So I do like Dylan Larkin here, or really it's worth considering maybe a couple guys on Detroit.
Okay, Paul, let's go to the wings and things department, man. Who are you looking at winger?
Well, I'm going to be stacking the Wild's entire first line, so that means Kaprizov and Zuccarello are in play. Kaprizov's 19 points in his last 10 games. That's on fire, atop the league in that range. He also is joined by Matt Zuccarello. I've touted him as one of the top playmaking wingers in the league. You get them for $7,600 and $4,800 respectively, and they're all doing better than a point a game. So that's definitely going to be the cornerstone of my DFS lineup tonight. With the Islanders struggling so badly, I know Pete likes the fact they're on a 4-game undefeated streak. I still have to include the Predators' top gun, Philip Forsberg, who's on a goal-scoring tear with 9 in the net over his last 10 games, and he's going to cost $7,000 tonight. The Stars were under siege in Vegas last night, and I wonder how much they have left in the tank for a match in LA this evening. That's why in the low end of the range, I'm considering Alex Iafallo, one of their top line wingers, who has averaged over 3 shots on goal per game in his last 10 starts and has a very weary Stars club in his sights. That'll cost only $4,400 tonight.
AJ, are you brave enough to agree with Paul for the second straight question?
And I hate this so much right now, but yeah.
My God, what is happening?
I hate it. I hate it, guys. I really think you got to look at that stack, man. The Wild. Kaprizov is a little more expensive, but I mean, for some reason, Zuccarello comes in at $4,800 still with 11 points in his last 8 games. I just don't know how you pass that up. and it's a good spot to be in. Maybe you look at Tyler Bertuzzi again, going back to Detroit as another option. But at 4,800, I think Zuccarello is just a must in your lineup. It's too cheap for his production level, and the matchup is just too good.
All right, Pete, bring us home here in the winger department.
I got some value on the wing.
Nice.
I don't think you can go wrong either way. I would definitely ride the hot hand with Sonny Milano for the reasons that Paul mentioned regarding Trevor Zegras and how he's blown up lately. Sonny Milano's along for the ride. Zegras said yesterday that Milano's one of the most skilled players that he's ever played with in his career at any level, which I think is very telling. He's flashy. He's got 7 points in his past 4 games. He's got 20 in 22 games on the season, which, right, let's be honest, guys, it puts him in the same conversation as a guy like Ryan Hartman, who was just mentioned earlier, as one of the clear breakout players of the season. I know it was Troy Terry early from Anaheim, but now it's almost shifted with the Getzlaf injury. It's like Milano and Zegras is the better line than Getzlaf or now Sam Steele with Troy Terry. So it's amazing how things change, and Sonny Milano is definitely worth going back to the well on here. And also I wanted to mention Michael Bunting, who I've mentioned on previous shows, still playing with Matthews. They're still on a tear. Marner's out, so the focus is on Matthews and Bunting might fit your price point a little bit better than Milano. 3,900 for Bunting, 4,000 for Milano.
Pete, no one is ever going to complain on the show about value picks and helping people make some money there while not spending a whole lot of money. AJ, I'm going to let you go first here in the blue line department. So give me your favorite defenseman.
Yeah, thanks. Now Paul can maybe agree with me. So since Brett Pesce and Tony DeAngelo have been out for the Hurricanes in the COVID protocols, it's been Jacob Slavin who stepped up with 4 points, including a pair of power play helpers in their last 4 contests. He comes in really cheap still because, normally this isn't a role for him. He would not be expected to be a power play guy for them or really a big offensive contributor when those other 2 guys are in the lineup. So they aren't going to have DeAngelo or Pesce back for the next 3 games because they're still playing in Canada right now. The rules are a little bit different with the COVID protocols. So Jacob Slavin's a guy I would definitely target, and he won't break the bank for you.
Okay, Paul, you're up, man. Do you sign off on AJ's answer?
They're good picks, but they're not mine. Instead, I'm going to go to a game that AJ panned a little bit, the Boston-Edmonton matchup. I like Darnell Nurse. He gets into this tough matchup, I know, but he likes these kinds of games. He'll be a factor at both ends of the ice, particularly participating on offense with 8 points and a whopping 37 shots on goal in his last 10 games. He'll also get in the Bruins' way as he has 14 blocks at the other end of the ice. This is a two-way menace, and he'll cost $6,300 tonight, and I might pay for it. With Neil Pionk sidelined for his club, Nate Schmidt will get more high-leverage minutes. It's a high-scoring defenseman in support of the talented Jets forwards. He costs $5,100 in this role tonight. Also possessing all of Nurse's attributes. I think his ownership will be significantly lower, however, unless people are looking at the Rotowire depth chart that show him as the new first-string power play quarterback there.
Yeah, I like Schmidt. Adjusting nicely to his new team there. Pete, what do you like in the defenseman department?
There's some good value options. There's Jamie Alexiak, who pretty much gets you a high floor, and he's been scoring lately for the Seattle Kraken. But I did want to mention that Drew Doughty has 11 points in 8 games this season. When he's healthy, he is a lineup lock for the LA Kings. Even though the Kings offense is a little inconsistent, he'll be out there on power play 1 with, of course, Anze Kopitar, and those are safe DFS options anytime. They're facing the Dallas Stars, who are on second of a back-to-back. So I do like Drew Doughty, who leads all defensemen in points per game this season. And he started hot before his injury. Now he's back. He's putting up big points yet again. So as much as we trend toward the younger players in LA, giving them a high ceiling in the future, the old guard is still there, Kopitar and Doughty, and they're producing as well as they ever had in their careers.
All right, before you guys take off, you know what we like to do here. Which goalie matchup you leaning towards right now? I know it's early, Pete.
Yeah, let's see who's confirmed. Definitely, Cam Talbot is one of the hottest goalies in the league right now, skyrocketing in our rankings on NHL.com/fantasy this past week, but he's unconfirmed. I also, like I mentioned, if Ilya Sorokin gets the start for New York, he's been really strong, even during this horrible losing streak for the Islanders, .924 save percentage on the season. So those are two guys I'm looking at. Obviously, Talbot's going to be more expensive than Sorokin, but try to get one of those two guys in your lineup. Sorokin only 7,700, has 3 shutouts on the season, almost had 2 more, so shutout potential any given night. If the Islanders are going to bounce back, finally get that home win, it just might be a shutout. Even though Nashville's top line is so good, I think they're pretty one-dimensional, top-heavy team. So Sorokin could shut it down any given night.
AJ, who should people try to roster in the crease?
Well, so in addition to just the good matchup for Minnesota, like Talbot or Kakkonen, the Wild are on a 7-game win streak with these guys. And if you look at their last 3 games, they've actually allowed 37.3 shots per game. That's second highest in the league for the month of December. So they're seeing high volume, but still racking up wins and not giving up a ton of goals. I think either one of those guys is in play tonight for Minnesota.
Yeah, Paul, the Wild are the hottest team in the league right now. Which netminder are you looking at early on here?
I'm stunned. I thought that AJ would jump all over the Hawks in Montreal. I always say my favorite team is whoever's playing the Canadiens. And tonight I'm on Marc-Andre Fleury. He was rocked for a 5 spot in his last start, but he's going home tonight. So I think he's going to want to put a show on in front of his home province. The Canadiens stink, and Fleury will get the W tonight for $8,000. His backup, Kevin Lankinen, is similarly priced. Make sure you get the right goalie in here. I also think the Jets have way too much firepower for the Seattle-based opponent the way they're clicking right now. And with Hellebuck in goal, he should be in position for a relatively easy win over the expansion club. He'll cost $7,900.